Black Friday, the day when chaos reigns supreme in retail stores across the globe. To many, it's a chance to snag deals and splurge on gifts. To others, it's a battlefield where civility dissolves into primal instincts. But to me, it will always be remembered as the day the world cracked open, when something ancient and malicious took hold of our insatiable greed. It started in a place no one would have suspected, a superstore on the outskirts of a sleepy suburban town. I was there, a reluctant employee counting down the hours until I could clock out. I had no idea that this Black Friday would blur the line between the mundane and the horrific, dragging us all into a nightmare we couldn't escape. Black Friday was always a special kind of hell. I had worked at the Hypersave Superstore for 3 years, and every holiday season it was the same. People lined up hours before opening, shoving and yelling before the doors even unlocked. But this year, something was different. It was 3 a.m., and the parking lot was already packed. Customers banged on the glass doors, their faces pressed against the panes like ravenous animals. I stood at the customer service desk with my coworker Lisa, who was scrolling through her phone. "You think anyone's ever been trampled to death here?" Lisa asked, only half joking. "Not yet," I said, watching as the crowd outside swelled. "But there's always a first time." The manager, Mr. Carmichael, stood by the doors, clutching a megaphone. At exactly 3:30 a.m., he gave the signal. "Open the doors." The floodgates burst open, and the crowd surged inside like a tidal wave. Screams filled the air as people sprinted toward the electronics section, clawing at each other for televisions, gaming consoles, and laptops. Lisa nudged me. Here we go, another day in paradise. But as the minutes passed, I noticed something unsettling. The customers weren't just aggressive, they were feral. A woman shoved another shopper into a display, her eyes wild and unblinking. A man ripped a toaster oven from someone else's hands, growling like an animal. The lights flickered overhead. For a moment, everything stopped. The crowd froze mid-motion, their heads snapping toward the ceiling as if they had heard something I couldn't. And then, they turned to us. A crackling sound came from the store's intercom system. It wasn't the usual announcement about deals or store hours. It was distorted, like static mixed with whispers. "Attention, shoppers," the voice croaked, its tone guttural and inhuman. "Welcome to the end of everything." Lisa and I exchanged nervous glances. "What the hell was that?" she whispered. Before I could respond, the lights flickered again, and the intercom crackled once more. "Let the games begin," the voice snarled. The customers, who had been eerily still, erupted into chaos. They screamed, laughed, and began tearing through the aisles, not for deals, but for destruction. They ripped products off shelves, shattered displays, and hurled items at one another. And then I saw them. Shadowy figures moved among the crowd, their forms flickering like static on an old television. They weren't human. Their limbs were too long, their movements too jerky. They whispered as they passed, their words unintelligible but deeply unsettling. "Lisa," I said, grabbing her arm, "we need to leave now." We ran toward the employee break room, dodging customers and shadows alike. Mr. Carmichael's voice boomed over the intercom. "All exits are locked. Do not attempt to leave. This is for your safety." "For our safety?" Lisa yelled. "Is he serious?" The break room was empty, the door hanging ajar. I locked it behind us and leaned against the wall, trying to catch my breath. "What's going on out there?" Lisa asked, her voice trembling. "I don't know," I admitted. "But something's not right. Did you see those things?" She nodded, her face pale. "What are they?" Before I could answer, the intercom crackled again. "You can't hide," the voice hissed. "The price must be paid." We stayed in the break room for what felt like hours. The sounds of destruction outside grew louder, punctuated by screams and inhuman laughter. Suddenly, the door burst open, and Mr. Carmichael stumbled inside. His eyes were bloodshot, and his hands were trembling. "We have to give them what they want," he said, his voice shaking. "What are you talking about?" Lisa demanded. "They're not here for the products," he said. "They're here for us. They want sacrifices." Lisa backed away from Mr. Carmichael, her hands trembling. "Sacrifices? What are you talking about?" He ran his hands through his hair, pacing frantically. The voice, the one on the intercom, it told me. "They want us, our blood, our fear. They thrive on it. The more chaos, the stronger they become. If we don't give them what they want, they'll kill us all." I stepped between him and Lisa, my own fear quickly turning into anger. "You've lost it. You expect us to just hand people over to those things?" Carmichael turned to me, his eyes wide with desperation. "You don't understand. This has happened before. Not here, but in other places, other stores. Black Friday isn't just about greed. It's a ritual, a feeding frenzy for them. If we don't comply, none of us will leave this place alive." Lisa shook her head. "There's no way I'm helping you sacrifice anyone." As if on cue, the lights flickered, and the temperature in the room plummeted. The shadows under the door stretched unnaturally, whispering in voices that made my skin crawl. "They're here," Carmichael whispered. The door to the break room buckled as something slammed against it from the other side. Lisa screamed, and Carmichael fell to his knees, muttering incoherently. I grabbed a chair and wedged it under the doorknob, praying it would hold. The pounding stopped, and for a moment there was silence. Then a voice drifted through the door, soft and melodic. "Come out, little ones, we just want to play." Lisa clutched my arm. "What the hell is that?" I didn't answer. I couldn't. My eyes were fixed on the shadows beneath the door. They writhed and twisted, forming shapes that looked almost human, but weren't. The voice came again, this time deeper and more menacing. "Open the door and we'll make it quick. Resist and you'll suffer." Carmichael stood, his expression suddenly calm. "We have no choice," he said, moving toward the door. "Don't!" I shouted, but it was too late. He opened the door, and the shadows surged inside, engulfing him. His screams echoed through the room as the darkness consumed him, leaving nothing behind. Lisa and I bolted from the break room, running through the chaos of the store. The customers had devolved further, their movements jerky and unnatural. Their eyes glowed faintly, as if they were under some kind of spell. "Where are we going?" Lisa yelled. "The loading dock," I said. "It's our only chance to get out of here." We weaved through the aisles, dodging customers and shadowy figures. One of the shadows lunged at us, its claws raking the air inches from Lisa's face. "Faster!" I shouted, pulling her along. We reached the loading dock door, but it was locked. I banged on it, cursing under my breath. "There has to be a key," Lisa said, scanning the room. Before we could search, the intercom crackled again. "Running is pointless," the voice taunted. "You can't escape the Black Friday ritual." As we frantically searched for the key, I noticed something strange. The store's layout had changed. Aisles twisted and turned in impossible directions, leading to dead ends or looping back on themselves. It was as if the store itself was alive, reshaping to trap us. Lisa pointed to a display case near the electronics section. Inside was a glowing key suspended in mid-air. "That has to be it," she said. We made our way toward the display, but as we got closer, the shadows thickened. They moved like a living tide, blocking our path. "Stay behind me," I said, grabbing a metal pipe from a nearby shelf. I swung at the shadows, and to my surprise, they recoiled, hissing like steam. Lisa grabbed the key while I held them off, and we ran back toward the loading dock. The shadows were relentless, chasing us through the store. Customers joined the pursuit, their faces twisted into grotesque masks of rage. We reached the loading dock and unlocked the door, but before we could escape, the intercom crackled one last time. "You can leave," the voice said, "but only one of you." Lisa froze, her eyes wide with fear. "What does it mean?" I didn't answer. I knew what it meant. The shadows closed in, their whispers growing louder. One of us had to stay behind. "I'll do it," I said, stepping forward. "No!" Lisa grabbed my arm. "We'll find another way." "There is no other way," I said, my voice trembling. "Go, get out of here." Tears streamed down her face as she hesitated, but eventually she nodded. "I'll come back for you," she said, before running through the door. The shadows surrounded me, their cold touch seeping into my skin. The last thing I heard was the voice on the intercom, laughing as the darkness claimed me. Lisa made it out of the store, but she wasn't the same. She tried to tell the police what had happened, but no one believed her. The Hypersave Superstore was gone, leaving only an empty lot where it once stood. Every Black Friday, she hears whispers in the wind, calling her back to the place where it all began. And every year, she wonders if the ritual will come for her again.